As the Marquis travelled through the open country, patches of poor wheat could be seen on either side of the road. Soon the carriage rumbled uphill to a poor village of one poor street, one tavern and a stable yard. The people were bent and hungry from too much work and not enough food. The little they earned went to pay taxes. Taxes for the state, the lord, the church, local taxes and general taxes. Their only purpose in life, it seemed, was to pay the taxes that left them in extreme poverty. Halfway through the village, the Marquis noticed a workman watching the carriage and ordered his driver to stop. "You! What were you talking at just now?" "A man, your honor, hanging from your carriage." "Who was it?" "I couldn't say, your honor. He was covered in dust, and then he jumped off and ran into the forest." M. Gable, the postman, tax collector, and policeman of the village, had also seen the stranger. Marquis called out to him, "M. Gable, find this man and arrest him." Gable nodded respectfully. "I will certainly do my best, sir." So, in this episode, in the very first paragraph, the situation of the poor subjects were explained. The poor people who were earning hard on their land and they're working hard throughout the day and night, they are not getting enough food to eat. Their basic necessities were not fulfilled. On the other hand, rich class is enjoying very much. Poor and common people, a lot of taxes were imposed on them. Taxes like taxes for the state, for the lord, for the church, local and general taxes. Author says, it seems like this that the common people were born to pay the taxes. And when the Marquis were passing through one of the street of one village, suddenly he noticed that one workman he is staring at his carriage. So Marquis ordered his driver to stop and asked the workman, "Why are you looking at my carriage? What is the matter?" The workman replied, "Your honor, I saw a man hanging with your carriage." Marquis says, "Where is that man?" He says, "That man had jumped off from your carriage just now and he ran into the forest." The workman has also informed Marquis that M. Gable, who is the village policeman, tax collector, and postman, he has also seen that man. Marquis said that workman to call M. Gable. M. Gable was called and Marquis instructed him to arrest that mysterious man who was hung behind the carriage of Marquis. By nightfall, the Marquis arrived at his grand chateau and inquired if his nephew had arrived. The butler replied that he had not. During supper, the nobleman was thinking about the events of the day. As he looked out the window onto the shadowy garden, he thought he saw a figure moving among the trees. So next episode begins. It was night time and now Marquis has arrived to his grand chateau and he asked his servant about his nephew. The servant replied that his nephew has not arrived yet. So during the supper, means while having his food, the Marquis he thought about the events of the day, that how he crushed a child under his under his carriage, and how the people reacted, then how the man had hung to his carriage, and later on he jumped from that. He was thinking about the whole activities that happened in the day. Suddenly he noticed that he saw a figure moving among the trees. My nephew has not arrived yet, you said. No, my lord, he hasn't. I saw someone moving in the garden. It is nothing, I am sure, my lord. The wind in the trees, perhaps. Fine, you may bring my meal. So Marcus he again called the butler and asked, you have informed me that my nephew has not arrived yet, but I have seen somebody in the garden moving here and there. The butler replied, I am sure that there might be a mistake, your honor. Your nephew has not arrived yet. And it might be possible that you have seen somebody's shadow, or you have just observed that the trees leaves were moving because of the wind. Marcus said, okay, then it's fine, you bring my meal. Soon the very Frenchman found not guilty of treason at the Old Bailey arrived and sat down to supper with the Marquis. It was his nephew Charles Darnay. You came directly from Paris, straight from England. Uncle, were it not for the very important nature of my business, I would not be here at all. What is that, Charles? I feel I am in certain danger here. The times are indeed bad. Once we had the power of life and death over these dreadful peasants. But people do not think the same way now. Very bad, very bad. So, when the Marquis was about to begin his meal, suddenly his nephew arrived. His nephew was none other than Charles Darnay. Charles Darnay he also joined him for the supper, and Marcus inquired from him, you came directly from Paris? Charles Darnay he informed his uncle that he came directly from England, and he also informed him that my work is very much important, that is why I am here. Otherwise I I never want to see this place again, because I feel that I am having certain danger here. Then the Marquis he 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 informed Charles Darnay that the situation was not like this always. Once we had the power of life and death over these dreadful peasants. They follow our commands without any questions. But now the time has changed. Few common people, they call them revolutionaries, they raise their hands, they raise their heads, and now they are challenging our authority. That is very, very bad. I believe we have used our position unfairly. I see nothing but hate in the eyes of those you call peasants, Charles Darnay said. I believe that we have exploited these peasants a lot in the past. So that is why whenever I used to see these peasants, I saw hate in their eyes for our community, for aristocratic people. As it should be, Charles. The more they hate you, the more they respect you. A compliment to our family's name. Marquis said that is not their hatred, that is their respect. The more the people are going to hate you, they are not going to like you. It means the more they are going to show their respect towards you. Our family, our honorable family, we destroyed anyone who came between us and our pleasures. And you and my father have carried on this frightful tradition. Your father is dead, and has left me responsible for this disgrace upon our name and powerless to change it. I am risking to my own life to fulfill my dear mother's last request, to make amends to those who have harmed and offended the restored honor of the house of Saint Evermonde. The Marquis laughed. I see you are lost, Charles. So Charles Darnay said that you were saying about our family's name. You were saying our family honorable family. But I want to say that you and my father, you both have destroyed our family's name by exploiting these poor subjects. But the Marquis, he said, you are not thinking right, Charles. The thing is like other thing. He said that your father is dead now, and now to to keep the name of our family, the whole responsibility is on my shoulders. I think you should give me some cooperation in order to make that name and fame our family again. Charles Darnay, he informed Marcus that he said that I can't help you in this manner, in this matter at all, because I have made a promise with my dying mother, that is that I will try my level best in order to restore the honor of the house of Saint Evermonde by helping those people to whom our family had exploited a lot in the past. Marcus laughed after listening all these things and said, Charles, I thought you are lost. This property and the country means nothing to me, uncle. I don't want them. As Charles sat thoughtfully, the Marquis cast a look of dislike upon his nephew. And how do you intend to live, may I ask? England is home to me now, and the name I have taken there can bring no further shame to us. So Charles Darnay, he said this thing clearly to his uncle Marcus, that he don't want any property or any other thing. After listening all these things, Marcus had developed a feeling of dislike about Charles Darnay, and he asked, okay, you don't want this property and you don't want any kind of share from this ancestral property. Can I ask you one question? How you are living in England? Charles Darnay replied, I am living a respectful life there, and the people are also respecting me there. They are not hating me anymore. They say that many have turned to England for shelter. Do you know a fellow Frenchman there, a doctor? Yes. With a daughter? Yes. The Marquis rose from his chair. You look tired, Charles. I bid you good night. Good night, uncle. A cloud of secrecy crossed the Marquis's face, and a thin smile that was nothing less than evil hit Charles right between the eyes. So after that, the Marquis asked Charles that I have heard that many of the aristocratic people, they have shifted from France to England. Do you know if fellow Frenchman, a doctor who is living with his daughter? The Charles Darnay said that yes, I know that thing. After listening that, Marcus became quite alert, and he said good night to Charles, and he just go to his bed. Charles Darnay had noticed that something disturbed Marcus, that he has given a secret kind of smile, and a mysterious kind of tension was developed developed in the mind of Marcus after listening about the doctor and his daughter. The next morning there was a great stir in the village. Amgable was summoned to the chateau of Saint Evremond. When he arrived, he was taken by the butler to the Marquis's bedroom, where he saw something that made his blood run cold. Laying on the blood-soaked sheets on a huge bed was Marquis, with a knife through his heart and a note saying, "Go fast to your grave." This is from Jacques. So what happened next morning? Next morning, Amgable was called to Saint Evremond's chateau, where Marquis and Charles Turner was living, because somebody has murdered Marquis in a very cold manner. And one note was written there, "Go fast to your grave." This is from Jacques.